Right, I'm live again. So first of all, did you take notes from last time?
Uh, a bit.
Okay. Quiz question. What was the biggest thing I talked about in terms of understanding how to position yourself when doing stuff?
Basically, tried to create a new angle that the enemies have to also watch on top of what they're already looking at.
Cool.
Or
Yeah, that's good enough. What was the principle I told you to think about for retake that is important so that you can decide how to or how and where to crab? Like, what are you trying to give us?
at the very least, the crab should be able to give you guys some kind of position that's like actually holdable around mid.
Right. And what
Or that
was
means like having like a ground position or like taking away a position that enemies like to be in.
right? There's one other thing that is important for us to have us or you to have a holdable position in disadvantage. What is that?
Like making so that we can see all the enemies coming from essentially one angle.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Good enough for me. Okay. Um on that note, um I think we can move forward to our stuff for today. Um, which basically, I want to understand why we were struggling against the Kelp comp or the Kelp team.
Oh
Because,
yeah.
no offense to them, right? But I don't think they are particularly strong players individually, and I don't think their comp was particularly good, but we still barely beat them in a best of seven. And so I want to make sure I understand. I make sure you understand what was wrong. Okay. So the first thing is I'm just going to play this whole game out, and I want you to tell me if you notice any trends in how you're dying. They may not apply to
Okay.
like every death, but just like as a general theme, patterns in how you're dying.
All right.
Can you still see it if I do this? Oh, I'm dumb. I'm not sharing my screen. That's silly.
Yeah.
My bad, my bad, my bad, my bad. Okay. There we go. You can still see it if I full screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that's 1.
Yeah, it was 11, so
Yeah. While we're at it as a memory test, just try and remember what all the deaths were. I'm going to try to remember them too.
yeah, okay.
You died 11 times? How the fuck did you die 11 times? As a side note, did we need this crab?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Why not?
They were already 2 dead, and like they have like what was it like leader and like what was it Zap I think
Yeah.
whatever it was like leader's probably already thinking about leaving.
Yeah. Okay, that's 3, right?
I think so, yeah. Or
Yep. Oh, I remember how you die 11 times now. 5. 6. 7.
yeah,
8.
yeah,
9. 10. I forgot what happened there. Sorry.
what the last
Yeah.
I think I was trying to shark something and then the wife ran up and killed me.
Yeah, he runs up and kills you. Okay. So one more, unsurprisingly, given that the game's about to end. This fucking AV guy, that was actually holdable if he doesn't do that. Okay, hold on. I just noticed Evie doing that. Anyway, so yeah, there are like two trends to me here that I wish you would have noticed. Do you know what those two are?
I think I might know one.
What's the first one?
Uh, it honestly just feels like I'm not using my range at all against a team that gets outranged by me, except for like later.
Yep.
I'm just kind of like letting them walk forward.
Wiper's a little tricky as well, but yeah, I would say that that's a kind of theme. What's another thing that you noticed?
Well, I mean, some of my deaths were like just straight up bad jumps.
Yes, that was the other one. Yes. Okay. So I would say it wasn't so much that you weren't using your range as it was that you were trying to push up into them at the edge of our range a lot without full info. Right? Which ends up meaning that when the fight starts, you're not using your range. Although some of them were just you like trying to fight up close even though you had range. But I feel like most of the time, like for some of them you were trying to space and then couldn't, but I feel like when you couldn't space, a lot of the time it was because like you had committed to trying to get close by sharking or whatever. And so when they show up, you no longer have the ability to keep them away. So like let's look at a couple. You're fine here. Yeah. That's like a different problem. Well, even here. This one's less cut and dry. That one I understand why. But like here, like see that?
Yeah, this one.
Like,
Yeah.
you trying to run up to him. Like there's no reason you can't just climb up this wall and then just start. You can see my cursor, right?
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, you can't. There's no reason you can't just like climb up this wall and start shooting down at him, right?
Yeah, that's one way to go about it.
Or even just like standing here, right? But you choose to like go for this weird like crit move, and that's what puts you in range to die. Or
And then I try to space when I'm already like committed.
oh, that's fine. That's good. Or here, right? You paint this, and then you start trying to swim up, right? So when the fight starts, they're here. You're already getting hit, right?
Yeah.
Because you're so close to them. And like, they're playing wiper brush. They're not gonna miss, right? Or that's a suction bomb death, whatever. Or even here, right? Like you're at the edge of our range, super close to them, right? When this that pops out, they're already in range. And you just get domed by this leader and then double tapped. Which, by the way, is only possible because you're so close that he can partial charge you, right?
Yeah.
Or that's a jump death. That's also a jump death. Here you do it again and then you almost die, but you actually get out this time.
Yeah, I was actually gonna comment about this one too.
Wow.
Actually, a miracle I live.
This one's a little trickier. That one's a little bit trickier. And then this one confused me to no end. When you see this guy here and your reaction is to try and run up and crit him when he's literally stuck in a corner, I'm like, what are you doing? Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyway, like there's a running theme of, and combined with the you like jumping in really far forward, I felt like there was kind of a theme of like you being in a rush to like fight them and kill them. which I guess is because I told you to like go fight and kill, right? But
Yeah.
I guess I wanted to ask you philosophically, right? Why is it that we try and push up into their spawn when we can? Like, why do we try to move up to fight people?
That's to try to contain them into one spot or to delay their ability to push back in.
You said to delay their ability to push back in and contain them into one spot. So, what exactly is it that we are delaying in their pushback in? Like, in what way are we delaying them?
I mean, they have to fight us to get back in. So, wait, say it again.
Let me ask in a slightly different way. What is the typical way? Describe to me like a typical retake on this map, ignoring their comp, like a more typical comp, like a, I don't know, like an S blast and a slosher, and like a splash, and a pencil, and then like some other shooter or like other guy. Like, how do they normally get back in?
Well, I guess assume the enemies probably already have like circle and whatnot.
Sure.
I guess like they'd start off in like spawn and they probably like want to be on right or like just front top. And then like they might run a special to try to force the people off circle.
No, okay. Assume that we stayed in mid. They still have circle. So they start with control of circle.
Oh, okay. Um, uh, they might try to like fight somebody first before they try to burn something, or they burn like, especially the house of free take like crap, for example, as a way to help them get somewhere to fight someone and hold like a spot like right zone.
Our right zone or like right from their perspective?
Oh, enemies right, not our right.
Right. So like left zone from our perspective, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason in my mind, right, that we're standing in circle is because if we don't, right, it's very hard to stop the crab or whatever else is coming, or the strikes from right side, or the crab from right side. Crab from either side, strikes from either side, right? Or booyah or whatever. If we don't take their circle, then they get to paint that for free. They get more paint for free, right?
Yeah.
And then they get to pop those specials and they're hard to stop. Right?
Sounds right to me.
The point is, the reason we have to like push up and get into people's spawn is to prevent them from using tools that we can't stop. So it's easier to try and fight into their spawn and delay their crab as much as possible or force them to pop it early. It's easier to do that than to try and survive the crab in mid and then win afterward. Right? That's like the general reason in my mind that we're trying to play up. Right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But to me, right, the thing is, this comp, right, has none of those tools. Right?
Yeah.
Like, which guy am I scared of if they are coming from circle? What are you afraid of being in circle?
Not necessarily any of them, except for like leader.
Exactly, right? Leader from circle is kind of unpleasant. And then on the right side, right, who are you scared of rushing out from the right side?
I mean, if I'm playing in a way where I can react to them coming, then it's still just not really anyone unless it's like the leader that's like pointing a laser at, right?
Right. So I guess my point is, against these guys, right,
Yeah.
as long as we have room to react, so to speak, right, none of them are super threatening. If you keep at a distance a brush, whether they pop zip or not, right, is not super threatening. Unless you end up giving them high ground and they start shooting down at you and they can like jump off and get a huge range buff, right?
Yeah.
Wiper is more scary, but it doesn't kill that fast, and if you stay at range, you can try and manage the distance and whatnot, unless, again, they get high ground and then they start shooting down at you and like jumping down when they want to, right?
Yeah.
Leader is always annoying, but we have walls, right? So it's probably fine. And then Zap is Zap. It literally can't fight outside its range ever, right?
Yeah, basically.
The other key principle to me, right, is not only do they not have any tools that are strong during in ranged fights, but Wiper or Hammer and Zip are both the kind of specials that only work or mainly work in these like close quarters, messy confrontations, right? Even Hammer Throw is not super reliable if the opponent has like room to react and move around and is at a distance from you because the hammer itself flies kind of slowly, right?
Yeah.
And as you know from playing Zip Sword, unless it's against the charger by themselves, and even then it can be kind of scary, zipping way past where all your teammates are to try and go deep into their territory, right, is unpleasant if they at all start 2v1ing you, right?
Yeah, they have a lot of options if I go really deep with it.
Yeah. So again, to give you another like concept cluster, it's like Zip and Hammer belong to this class that like the more room you give them and force them to use it from further away, the weaker it gets and the more punishable it gets if they try and go for something. Right?
Yeah.
Now, this is different than say Cooler or Wavebreaker or I think to some extent Whale, where it's like they aren't strong retake specials like Strikes or Crab because they don't claim area very well, right? But unlike Hammer and Zip, it's not like standing away from them is like a direct counter, right? They do like something else. But in this case, they have two specials that are specifically like extra weak when we're far away. So to me, between you like trying to crit them and jumping into very aggressive positions, it feels like you are in a rush to try and claim space and to kill them, right?
I see.
But the thing is, brush and hammer, and to some extent wiper, mainly mainly hammer, are the kinds of tools. Actually, no, wiper with torp as well. These are the kinds of tools that the only time they really work is when the enemy is trying to force something instead of playing carefully.
So, like in a sense, I'm like basically giving them chances by being super aggressive that I end up like being, I guess, in their range for them
Yeah,
to actually be able to fight back,
yeah,
other than I just continuously wall them out and they can't do anything.
yeah. And importantly, right, even though we are, in order to do that, you have to play the map slower, and we won't take as much territory necessarily as quickly, right? Giving them
Yeah, but it's
circle, or like giving them their right side near the blocks, isn't so bad, right? Because
I see.
even if we give it to them, it's not like suddenly we gave them the free crab spot or like the free strike spot because they don't have any of those tools.
In a
So
way, it's like still kind of like the same situation in a way,
yeah, so like
even though they got back like some of the control.
all they can do if they get to circle or they get to the blocks is that they then have to like drop or run forward or try and like zip halfway across the map or throw a hammer halfway across the map or snipe one of us, right?
Yeah,
Which isn't nearly as reliable or threatening as like I don't know, crab. Crab's the main one, right? So basically, what I'm
yeah,
saying is you're kind of making the game a lot harder on yourself than it needs to be by
yeah. That makes
trying
sense.
to shark them or crit them. Like you have against this kind of team, you have so much time because we will naturally accrue an advantage because our stuff is like more annoying and threatening than theirs, right?
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's trickier when we're playing against like a mini team or like a splash team because suddenly like there's a guy who spams special that claims space with it and paints a lot, and now even if there's like two other sharkers on their team, right?
They could still make something happen because now they have like something to work with.
Yeah, exactly. And like you can't necessarily assume you will outpace them on paint and control, right?
Right. Yeah.
But here they don't really have anything. I think this comp falls under the same sort of theme as like that. You remember that red Dapple blaster plat random pickup that we lost
Oh
to
yeah.
rather handily? That was kind of the same thing where it's like in order for them to accomplish anything and gain control and whatnot, right? They have to kill you. As long as you're alive and shooting back at them, they are always kind of like at a disadvantage, right? Because your tools are better than theirs, you'll get them more often, you have more range, etc., right? And so
Yeah.
the most important thing against those kind of teams is to try and not give them the one thing that they want, which is kills. Because once the kills start happening, then like it's hard to keep track of all of them. They're much more likely to be able to run forward on an angle, right? They don't need specials if they can fight with numbers.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So if you just make yourself extremely annoying and hard to kill, they're forced to like this very uncomfortable position where they just kind of have to run forward and hope for the best, right? And as you watch these games, I think you'll notice a kind of theme in that sense in the games we lose.
would go on for the whole set, to be honest.
Well, on Mahi, for example, you don't do it as much. I think the trap you fall into, right, is because these weapons don't have as much range as you, it feels like you can push them a lot. Right?
Yeah.
Because it feels like they don't really have the tools to stop you, so you want to, like, run in and fight them, right? But what you have to remember is that their solution to that problem is almost always trying to shark and catch you. Right? So unless
Right.
you're completely sure that there is no one that's going to jump you for trying to get close, it's dangerous. It is both dangerous to go for it, and also you don't need to win. So, like, from a risk-reward perspective, a lot of the time it isn't worth it, in my mind. By the way, can you guess what's about to happen to you here? Do you remember?
I actually don't.
Okay, I can tell you that you basically you run forward like this. So what do you think happens?
They wait until I get like really close to the pillow, I guess, and then they just like whack me in the head or something.
No, let me play this back again.
See.
Sharking people, you must assume that they have not left unless you have physically seen them leave. Because that's the only thing they can do. Right? Giving up space to try and re-attack you is not pleasant for them because now they have to figure out how to get forward again, right? So unless you really force them out, they're going to stay in that forward position. So I guess you
I see.
forgot that this brush was here or something, so you let him kind of just kill you. And like you saw him, you literally hit him, and you
Yeah.
never saw him jump. So you need to know that he's just going to stay. Because that's the only thing his weapon really does. Is find a way to get close and then jump out at people, right?
I see.
But even this, right? Like, you don't need to be in this sea of green. This is dangerous, right? Because now they can get close to you easily. And
Yeah.
you don't need to do this because we can slowly just clear them and win, right? Because they don't
Yeah.
have tools. But instead, you go on this like crazy off angle, and eventually, right, you just get stuck in a corner and you die. Because you tried to fight from some angle that we didn't really clear. You don't clear it or paint it for yourself, and they just kind of mob you. My guess is this kind of thing was happening against that pickup we played against too. Where it's like you try and go for your typical flank stuff, but it doesn't work against weapons that refuse to reveal themselves to you and fight honestly. Because they're just sharking, right? It doesn't work against those people. Because they're just going to shark you out. This can be a playstyle thing too, by the way. Like, you could run into a slosher that, even though they have strikes, they just choose to hide all the time. I've never seen someone like that, but they could exist. They don't play like that because their weapon has better things to do. Right? But in a weird way, it seems like we lose to people who are worse because you and whoever else try to go for your typical things that only work against opponents that are kind of playing under the same principles as you because they also have strong weapons. Right?
Right.
Like a brush is just going to try and catch you, and you're giving them opportunities to do that. So, like, you should be thinking before you drop for any flank and making sure there can't be anyone sharking there, like, really focusing on it.
Because that's like the main thing that they're going to be trying to do.
Yeah.
In this comp specifically.
Yeah. And just so we're clear, the brush is going to try to do that in any comp, so you always have to keep track of them.
Right. Right.
right?
Yeah.
It's just like here, especially, the risk or the risk is the same, but the reward is lower for going for those plays anyway. If the enemy team has like a mini or a splash or a slosher or whatever, right? Then going for those kinds of plays, even though you know you have to track a sharking or flanking brush, is still worth it in some cases, because if you don't do that and we all just try and play slowly from the front, they may just force us back with crab or bubble, right?
Yeah.
But against these guys especially, it's like, what's their alternative? So just don't give them their one option, and then there's nothing they can do, right?
Yeah. Makes sense.
Like even here, right? Like you don't need to give them high ground on this angle. You can literally just go back to mid and keep fighting front, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So my argument, right, is that they basically can't retake from this position unless they do something stupid. Or we do something stupid, right? So let's see how they get back in. I don't actually remember. Okay, well. That's a good shot, right?
Yeah.
But the premise is the same in the sense like they get back in because one of us explodes.
Yeah.
Notice also that brush tries to YOLO in by themselves, right? They go way back into our backline, and then notice how they die and get nothing. Right? Boom.
Yeah.
We're all still here, and the brush tried to go all the way in, like, into our top right, and just died. Because, like, what else can they do? And then again, right? You just let them back in because you're trying to kill them. Okay, I'm going to skip forward because I think you get the point. I'm now going to prove the alternative case. So you can see what it looks like. Is this one of the games where we do it to them? I think so. This time they have Kraken instead of Zip, so even more so, right? They can't do anything but run in at us. They're still going for this flank thing that you don't have to, and trading for it, but you don't have to. But I think on this map, for example, you generally play more passive naturally anyway because it's hard to push up, right?
Yeah.
And then notice how they burn everything, right? And they still
But
can't.
they still don't really have mid.
Yeah, until you decide
Until I send it.
to full send for an E leader and completely ignore the fact that they're in mid. Completely expose your back, and then you get jumped from behind by the brush that could never fight you unless you YOLO it into their territory. Right? And then they kill you. And then they kill Blob because you're dead now. And then they get capped. Only then do they get capped, right? And then, you know, more stuff happens. Also, notice again how easily we get back in, right?
Yeah.
Like, even if they run in and cap, it's so easy to push them back because they have no way of stopping us. Like, you just crab this. I run forward with bubble, and they just kind of, like, are fucked, right?
Right.
Like, we just got mid back. And then you go for this again, which is like, I mean, you get one. Hooray. I'm not super mad about it, I guess. I mean, you get two. So you get rewarded for it once. Which makes it hard to decipher that you didn't need to go for that. But the main point is, I think we can clear those guys slowly anyway, even if you don't like run in while the whole left side of the map is still purple, right?
I mean, yeah, I have missed. We have bombs,
Yeah.
and we got the range too. So it's like
And then notice,
they'll
right?
eventually be forced into the sides, and we just keep them there,
Yeah.
or they jump out.
Yeah. And then notice, right? They have no. The only way they can get back in is this guy pops hammer and just starts randomly rushing and trying to clear corners, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And Evie just murders them. And then even though like two of us went down, it literally doesn't matter because they can't outpaint us either. So we just win for free, right?
Yeah.
Museum, I think we more so like fucked them in their spawn. You and I were just like saucing on them in their spawn. So this is a less good example. But notice how this guy has to do a stupid zip to try and clear the bubble. And then Blop goes down and it literally doesn't matter. Because we are trading them. And we're staying alive and keeping control of map paint. The important thing is it's more annoying when you die because you're one of the biggest like forward motion deterrents. Like you're one of the hardest things to rush. Eevee is similar where it's like Eevee is hard to rush because if you try and rush Eevee, you eat a burst flick to the face, right? So you have to like push slowly. Against Blob, right, they can kind of just full send it. Against me, they can kind of full send it if we're not protected. Right? Okay, I'm going to skip forward.
See, so like really sucks that we die. Because then
against this kind of team especially, where they are good at running in because it's Zap, Wiper, whatever, Zap, Wiper, Brush, which are good at running forward, right? And it's like the only thing they can do. Yeah, it's like especially bad because it's the one thing we don't want to let them do. Okay, and then he accidentally POVs himself. And then just want to point out how calm and not under any danger you were there because you have so much range. And then you do this.
Lol.
You literally see the brush, right? Like you see the brush and you decide to ignore the fact that we haven't cleared this area and just go for this leader and end up in the range of this brush on high ground and just like give yourself for free as a kill. I think they get in off this. Yeah, Eevee goes down. Zips out. Right? Like, they get back in off that. Blop gets rushed and dies. You're, again, running super far forward to try and fight an E-leader for no reason. And just get jumped because you aren't far enough away to be safe, right?
Yeah.
And they got back into mid. And for what? And for why? This was a great play. I enjoyed this. This proves to me, like, what you can do with Crab. Even up close. Because it has options. Even more so than Booyah Bomb. But then, okay. Blop goes down. But you see how much longer it takes them to get rid of us?
Yeah.
Right? Like, if Blop goes down against a normal team, like, we're getting flooded on the left side. We have no way of defending ourselves against their Slosher or S-Blast hitbox, probably. And then we just get cleared, right? Against these guys, they have to, like... It's hard for them to push you and Stan, or you and Eevee, so... They have to work.
Even though they had, like, advantage, like, they still had to, like, work to force us off of it.
Yeah. And then by comparison, look at how, like, easy this is. We just put the bubble down. They can't stop us. Right? Like, that's it.
Yeah, I didn't even do anything.
Yeah. Okay, and then I think we win from here. 1 sec, I'm being called. I'm back. You here?
Hello.
Hello. Okay. Um, I like that you just give them this space and come back to us because you see how they like can't do anything? Like that guy goes for hammer and you just kill him. Right.
Yeah.
If you're not close to him, he is forced to do something dumb with hammer.
Right.
Then he hammers again, and it
And he's
still
doing it again.
doesn't matter because you look at all this space you have to run away and let someone else kill him, right?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure the game just ends here. Eevee almost fucks it up for us. And then, so we have to work a little bit harder for it now, right? Because they're trying to run in. But, like, you see how that wiper literally has to just, like, grab cooler and run it down? Because there's no tools.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's how you should play. When I say these people can't retake, and there are comps that we run into like this. Like those Luna wiper comps. Well,
Yeah, I know what you
those will
mean.
sometimes have mini or splash, so those are a little bit harder. But it's still like it's just the bubble. Even bubble, right, has limitations into how far they can run it forward.
Right.
It's like if they don't have retake tools, they don't have retake tools, and we can just punish them every time they try and run it. Now the other thing,
Hashtag stop giving them the freebie.
yeah. So conceptualize in your flowchart that your aggressive priorities and tendencies are less critical against teams with no retake tools because you can instead simply abuse your range and
Exactly,
mist and crab to make their life difficult. That doesn't mean you can't kill them. Like, as you can see, you are still like prioritizing going for kills. It's just the most successful cases for you were the ones where you try and kill them from range instead of trying to crit them. I'm pretty
Right.
sure you got punished almost every time you tried to go for a shark or a crit.
I don't think I even crit anybody in that game.
Even throughout the set, though. Like, trying to go for close range kills was, like, not super great.
Right, right.
And the reason for that, okay, the weapons you have to be most cognizant where you do not want to go for that are the weapons that don't mess up in close range, like Brush, like Wiper, where the hitboxes are generous at close ranges. Like Roller
Right.
or Try, right? Like those are the kinds of weapons, or like Blaster. Like those are the kinds of weapons you don't want to fight super up close because Luna specifically or S Plus. Like those are the weapons that if you fight them up close, like their weapon is more reliable than yours and kills faster than yours. Because you, in order to do things back reliably to them, you have to be going for 35s, which are slow, right?
Right. That gives them the time to
Yeah.
get like a cheeky direct or whatever.
And then here again, it's like, bro, you can actually just space this guy. Although I don't know if you knew he was there, so I give you more of a pass. Anyway, here I wanted to more look at what happened was the flank situation happened. Yeah, okay.
Oh, I forgot this happened.
This was fine. This was fine. I think you should have been more careful about that. I like the decision to stay. And then I like that you choose to drop now that they're like coming back and you kill the guy behind us. So now we have full control of this. And then in my mind, right, from this position, it should be impossible to lose. Okay, I guess there was one guy behind us. Okay, now we killed the guy behind us. Now there's like literally, right, like there's nothing.
Yep. Right.
They should be able to do. This should look like the Mahi game from here on out. Just like a clinical, like, you try to go and I shoot you situation. I forget what happens. That doesn't help. That's what happens.
All ball
Eevee
gets hammer thrown.
Zukas and dies to a zip, the kind of zip that would never work if you just wasn't in Zuka. Right? So I'm going to have to explain the same thing to him. and then Blop dies to a YOLO hammer. And I think you go behind again at some point. I don't understand this play.
Oh wait, why did I do this?
I don't understand what your plan was here. Okay, what do you think your plan should be from this position?
Don't I just like stay up here?
And do what? What do you cover?
Like I cover like their side of mid. I can watch it. They like go behind. Like I have miss. Like I if I see them, like I can just miss them and then like horizontal, vertical, whatever.
In my mind, your goal is to be on whichever side of top mid is furthest from their brush and wiper. So if you can push them off of here, great. You push them off and you just come back over here. Or are ready to go over here if they start coming this way. Because, right, they can climb up this wall and then jump up at you at close range. So to avoid giving them that, you, like, force them off of this side without crossing. Right?
Right.
Or at least annoy them. Eventually, I will come back and, like, paint this. So you don't need to drop. Right? And then you... yeah, you, like, maintain control of the high ground. So I guess to translate this black back into more like flowcharty terms, right? In a sort of semi-hold / retreat position where you don't have to fully retreat, right? Your goal should be to try and maintain defensible strong positions, not to go for kills, right?
Okay.
Because you should also be careful about using crab. Right? Because the moment you use crab, you stop being able to rotate as quickly or have the flexibility to fight in a scrappy way. Right?
Yeah.
So your goal during this sort of more scrappy phase or tricky semi-defensive phase of the game is to try and prevent as much as possible us from losing ground, because you're the kind of weapon that can do that. Actually, independent of us, it just makes your life easier. Your life is easier if, even though they killed one of us, they can't come up here to fight you later.
Yeah, they can't actually fight me.
Yeah. Well, they can. They can do this thing where they come up this wall. So you have
but
to...
they can't actually kill me, and like I'm still like doing the threat of just still being around mid.
Now, if you know they're going to come up this wall, you can leave.
Right.
But because you do this, they get their top back. And even though we got the zone and 2 of them are down, our lives are harder. Because...
Yeah.
like... in taking this back, we lose control of this bottom side again. Right? Like, if you're just up here the whole time and you had crabbed from up here at some point, it's like you can just shoot down at them.
Yeah, there's not really much they can do.
This
So
guy...
it's like, I guess, hammer throw.
yeah. And you just have to be ready to ball that. This is fine. It sucks that they cap, but that's fine. And then you do this.
Oh. I don't know.
Which, to me, is the same thing of, like, we're still in a semi-defensive position. I think you forgot that Eevee is still respawning here, right? So we don't have stable control of mid, right? They just capped, right? Like, we don't even have cap yet. They're all still here. No one else is on left. And you just give up left to go fight this guy.
Yeah.
Which, in a normal neutral situation, is fine, right? Because what happens is Eevee or someone will be up here. Or,
But that's not
like,
the case here.
there'll be 3 of us on this side, and one of us will notice and jump across when you go take that fight. But we're not fully in a neutral situation because he's dead. And you killed the Enzap, who is, like, not... the main issue. This also runs into the problem of something you like doing, which is to go for some reason, you like to go for these low ground, non-guaranteed fights when you're close to crab, and you could just space fight them and then get crab, and then figure out what you want to do. You know what I mean?
It's basically just like the situation.
Like, it's one thing to drop, like, if you can drop to catch and kill someone reliably, yeah, sure, go for it. Then you don't have to waste your crab and you can just go back to where you were because they're no longer there to threaten you. But to me, this is not one of those positions. Like, this guy has cover, he has distance, like, you're not in crit range. Okay, and now
Yeah.
for a little bit of prediction. Where is this guy gonna go?
Blob.
You think he's gonna go on top of the block?
Oh, I said, were you going to talk about the blob? The blob
Yeah,
lobber.
yeah. You're in a 1v1 against the blob. He knows you're behind this block. You know he's over here.
Yeah.
Where is this guy gonna go?
I guess back
Back where?
because
Like this way?
uh like the basically like his spawn, like the hallway, I guess.
Interesting.
Or he
Okay.
plays around like his sprinkler.
Right. Okay. Well, here's what ends up happening. Oh, never mind. I was thinking of a different situation. Okay, you leave. Nice kill. But then you do this again. Like, stop going down here and wasting your whole crab. I think you fell by accident, but then, like, don't crab. Like, I'd rather you die there than waste your whole crab. Right? Because that's the same principle as, like, when I say that it's better to kill people who coolered after they've popped special, where it's, like, better to respawn with some meter than no meter. Or, yeah. You know what I mean?
I see.
Here I fully thought you were going to die to rain. This crab I'm okay with. It's not the best, but it gets the job done. Oh, it's this fight. This fight. I'm fine with you going for that crit. It's just a blob. But now you're alone. Okay, I'm lying again. I'm just going to not talk about this blob fight that I know you went for eventually. This I'm... Like, this is all okay. But... I don't know. To me... I think... This is a tricky situation because you're behind alone. Right? But to me... This is not the kind of position here that you can easily hold by yourself if you don't kill one of them immediately. So why do you think that is? Like, what principle do you violate by making this play? Like, what is wrong with this play?
It looks like the blob can kind of just lob shots without having to really expose himself. And then like I'm forced to look at two different angles.
Yes, that's more important to me. This violates the principle I was talking about last time of, like, if you're running away or you're in a 1vx, right? The last thing you want to do is put yourself in a position where you have to look at multiple angles that are hard to simultaneously space yourself from like both of them. Multiple angles is like kind of okay if like you have enough room away from all of them to keep them both away at the same time, right? So like ironically, if they knew you were here, you're actually safer back here, because even though this angle and this angle are different, right, you have enough room to kind of try and stop them both at the same time.
It's still like roughly like around like I can make both of those angles like in like the same camera view in a way where I don't have to like move my camera as much, I guess.
Well, but like here too, you can technically avoid moving your camera. Like you can see this guy. It's just that like it's harder to avoid him, right? Like you can't keep them. You
I
can't.
see.
You can't keep them both away. Whereas here, right, this angle is such that like even if they try and come in, you have plenty of time to like move around to try and like, for lack of a better words,
Oh, I see.
space them both out. Like here, if this guy decides to come up this like hug this block and like come right around here, he's already like shooting at you by the time he shows
Yeah,
up.
then it's like awkward. Yeah.
Like the reason not having or having to cover multiple angles doesn't work is because in this case, this is the kind of angle where if you aren't actively shooting at it when they come and cross, you're gonna get beamed, or you can get beamed, right? And this angle is also like that, where if you don't continuously press it, they can like worm their way down the ramp and have high ground on you, which makes it hard to survive them, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Whereas here, you have like room to dodge around, because if this guy's dropping, like he's way over here. So you have room to dodge around to space him and like preserve stamper range advantage while still keeping away from this guy. Right? Like if they both drop at the same time, you don't immediately die. You can start moving like this way, right? Like trying to go into this corner, like you can collapse it kind of into one angle where it's like here, right?
Yeah, I'm like envisioning that in my mind. Yeah.
Yeah. This is kind of like Mako bottom left, for example, where like they're in mid and like one guy can come under up the ramp and like the other guy can come from like the block side, right? But you can always tuck into that corner all the way on the far side.
Yeah.
That's like directly under where the chargers stand in tower control and like jump out or like stall them a bit, right? Whereas from here,
The
you're
main point is like you don't immediately die if they start to like actually like look at you.
if they try and 2v1 pincer you, yeah. Whereas here, like you would have honestly been okay if you had gone back down into the corner.
I see.
And then yeah, if you go down into the corner and then you like paint and like space them, then you're like distracting up to two people, right?
Yeah.
Which is more okay. I don't really want you to do that against this comp. When again we
Yeah,
have
I was gonna suggest that there was a world where I just jump back to you guys and just like have a crap set up for like right side.
yeah, like against this team that has very weak tools. But the thing is, their tools on hold are actually not so bad, right? Because on hold we can't avoid the messy zip caster or hammer fights nearly as easily because we no longer have paint advantage, right? So unless it's you and Blob max range painting everything super slowly and somehow the Blob is like asleep at the wheel, right? They can always find a way to get into those close range messy fights where we don't have room to move around and they're zipping or hammering us, right?
We do eventually have to go into them at some point
Right.
when we're trying to retake.
Yes. So that changes the dynamic. So I guess in that sense, flanking is not so bad to me. The other option you had if you didn't want to go early and then have to back out into the corner is to wait for more of us to jump in. Like if you make the call, I think you can make the call here if you sit on this wall for a bit that they're probably not coming to get you. Right?
Yeah.
Because if anyone was going to get you, it was going to be this blob. I'm not even sure this blob knew you came down here. Because he doesn't
It looks
look
like he
for.
doesn't actually look.
Yeah, like he could be keeping track of you in the back of his head, but the way to make it so that that doesn't matter is that we're all there. If we're all there, it doesn't matter that he knew that we're there, because now there's three of us, or two of us, or three of us, probably three of us, or four of us, right? And now it's like, okay, great. You could see us coming, but too bad. We have high ground and four people now, right? So you could have waited even longer, and then I would jump. I wouldn't probably jump until I'm close to bubble, which I mean won't take me long. It's retake. It's our first retake. There's plenty of paint. And then I can jump to you and set up a bubble so it's a better foothold, and then we can start fighting for real, right? But because you
Yeah,
go
that makes sense.
so early, that play's not an option either. And I like semi go for it, but at this point you've already revealed yourself, so it's actually not a safe jump position. And then, surprise, you can't defend two angles by yourself. Right.
Yeah.
Now, I put this bubble down, and I'm actually more okay. But you need to recognize that, like, I can't stay here, really. Oh, this fight. I don't know why you decided to go this way. The zone is that way. The direction where the blob doesn't have to turn his back to us is this way. So you're walking into the safer blob angle that's further from the zone and will prevent you from helping Cap. And then you get domed. Right.
Yeah.
But the main thing I wanted to talk about was like your flanks in this game. Of like the checklist for like I wanted to deepen your flowchart of how to play when you're on the flank. It's like either you can reveal yourself again to try and pull attention where if they ignore you, like because if they ignore you, you can't just sit in the bottom, right? You have to go top so that they have to care about you, because if they don't care about you, then you're taking a high ground position that can paint the zone. So they have to care, right?
Yeah.
But then you have to understand that if you're by yourself, that isn't actually a real holdable position if you're not sharking them. And so you have to back out away again into the corner. But now it's okay to be in the corner because they're worrying about you, right?
I see. Yeah.
Because now they're worrying about you even though you're in the corner. But then if they start ignoring you again, then you have to keep playing this like back and forth game of like threatening to take the top and then backing out so that you can stay alive. And at some point it's probably like more reliable to just jump out. Because chances are once you do it once, one of them is going to sit in the top left on their side of mid now, which makes it way harder to like threaten to peek up the wall, right?
Yeah.
And then the blob can go back to ignoring you, but now there's a guy above you standing directly where you would want to like claim, and he can probably shark you out. So that kind of sucks, right?
Yeah.
But the other option is to just wait for it to be good enough for us to like all jump in. Or at least me to jump in and then set it up for them to jump in, so to speak.
Right.
Your other option was to paint under anyway. And then if they don't respect you and force you to jump out, you start crabbing from like under behind or like mid behind. Or
I
like
see,
like
yeah.
you go to mid instead of going to top. Because that way you only have to look basically backwards towards our spawn. But that again
Instead of
becomes
having
like
to look at two different things.
yeah,
where
it
they
becomes
could come
one
up
angle
from.
again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we saw this already. I don't think there was anything super interesting in this one.
Was it more or less the same mistakes?
I think so. Like you're again fighting in some super far up area with like their territory. That again should have been you just dying to the brush for trying to run it around in their control with no paint. But in this case, you just get rewarded somehow, right? But even here, it's like you really don't need to be over there, right?
Yeah.
And then again, you're like sharking super close. Okay, cool. You actually jumped this time. Here, I wish you had done at least a little bit of dodging. I don't know if you thought you could just like catch him before he killed you, but whatever. This again was like, bro, clear before you drop. They have a bunch of sharking weapons, right?
Yeah.
Um, even here, when you do this, it's like, are you sure there isn't someone like sitting in this corner waiting for your crab to end? You and Evie are just kind of lazy about clearing in general. Like, you just kind of assume that things are safe. And you need to like actually count to 4 against these kinds of teams to make sure things are actually safe. Like, there's no excuse for getting caught at an off angle or like from a flank when you should know that if you don't see all 4, there could be one sharking and they could be anywhere with paying. Right? So,
Yeah. Especially against a comp like this where
yeah.
they would really want to be sharking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even against a comp that doesn't quote unquote want to be sharking, like Bursty will shark you on NZAP if he can.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So you should just respect it always. Now, if you say, okay, they haven't sharked me and it's game 4 and like a best of 5, like I understand starting to make assumptions then. But
this is not really like
yeah. This is not that. They are playing sharking weapons and have been showing that they want to shark you. Right? So you guys should like actually clear properly or at least consider that they might be in places in like for example, on this crab. Like I don't mind that you're crabbing from here because they don't have an S blast that could sit in this corner and nuke you. Right? Plus it's not painted super well. But like there could
But I still have to be mindful about it.
yeah, so I'd like it if like before you drop with your crab that like
That I like expo shot the
Explo shot directly
Whatever.
under you, or like you wait for the crab to end and then missed it before dropping, or like paint it, something, right? Like demonstrate
Yeah.
that you're being disciplined and diligent about controlling sharks. Now, with your weapon, I can understand wanting to run through to get kills, but again, like you don't need to crit a blob to kill him, right? It's a blob. You can just win that safely from distance without paying control. Like if you watch
Yeah.
Nori, he doesn't get his kills by critting people. He gets them by comboing them cleanly from distance. Right? Unless he's already in and like running in behind someone or catching a jump or something, where crit is completely reliable because they can't catch you coming. Right? This is not that. Now, and then the next thing that annoyed me was this. Okay, so you jump back, yada yada. Okay. This guy torps you, right? You know the torp came from somewhere over here, right?
Yeah.
You get torp from somewhere over here. You get marked. So that means they saw you, right?
Yeah.
You climb this wall. What's going to happen if they know you're in this corner?
Shark me.
Hmm?
Shark me.
From where?
The pink pillow.
Yeah.
Or like around there, just like
Yeah,
wait for
like-
me to come up.
Yeah.
Like swing this angle.
Like they know, because you're down there, they know you might be trying to come up. So they wait for you to come up and then they just catch you. And you didn't need to go. Again, this is the same thing of like, you don't need to go. We can just keep mid normally. Right? Because they don't have the tools to really cap. And then I think the game ends. So, I mean, it's kind of a running theme of the same mistake, but... Yeah.
I mean, like obviously I'll have to play
Oh, yeah, this
like
too.
somewhat differently if it's like some other comp. Like
Yeah.
take something like
Literally any normal comp.
yeah, that I was gonna talk about like a more slower comp as well. What was that comp that like I think Synapse was playing with them? It was a Fling King, right?
Yeah, Fling, Forge, Missile, Flings, and Wiper, right? That team,
Yeah.
by contrast, has a ton of retake tools, right? So there's a stronger incentive to take tons of space when we can, because that way they missile us, we give up part of the map. They booyah us, we give up part of the map, but like we're still kind of in mid, as opposed to having to completely give them everything, right?
Right.
And against that kind of team, your whole thing about like using crab to disrupt retakes and slow things down with mist and whatnot, or like not mist, more so good crab timings and whatnot, which is basically after the missiles, before the booyah, right?
Yeah, I
That
see.
all comes into play much more because now you have something to really disrupt. Against these guys, the only thing you have to disrupt is their ability to run it down. And the best way to do that is to just stay alive. And then here, this had frustrated me too because it's like, they have zip hammer. You crab them? Great. Why did you crab them?
Uh, Not sure. I think I was trying to go for a kill here.
Right, okay, so you want to kill them. If you try and kill a guy with zip with crab, or a hammer guy with crab, they're not just going to take it lying down, and in fact, both of these specials have a semi-positive matchup into crab, right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
So you should expect them to try and use their special in reaction to disrupt or kill your crab. So
Yeah,
you should preemptively be prepared to ball.
the ball here. Yeah.
Yeah. And that way, this guy zips around, breaks your crab, doesn't really get anything. And then instead of having this slightly sketchy situation where we nearly lose the cab, we just keep it cleanly the whole way through and win the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, back to expanding your flowchart. Let's see. What else do we have from your POV? I don't want to watch Blop's footage of it if I can avoid it. Rather watch EV. Wait, Stanver's Hypernova. What? This is so old. Oh, right, because we destroyed them. Never mind. This wasn't that old. Um, dude, okay. I can't believe they got rid of
So what?
the ability to specify who the author was. How do I? This is so annoying, man. Um, okay, I don't have anything else from EV, I guess. I thought I had another set of video or games I watched. I think it was here. Yeah. Here we go. Okay. This is versus. Who even is this? Oh, this is Ace. Okay. This is another weird comp, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So these guys again mostly don't have retake tools, but Wall with Whale does let them move forward, and Booyah also lets them like go for stuff, right? So this is less cleanly like you can just sit around than the other team.
Yeah.
What you need to recognize with this team, right, is that the best way to fight gals is you can kind of think of them like Brellas in the sense that like ideally you are fighting around your teammates when you fight against gals. So you know what I mean? Like against Tent and Brella, the correct or the easiest way to fight them is to not try and 1v1 them, right?
Yeah.
So 52 belongs to the same class because the idea is they can guarantee defensive immunity against one angle. So the best way to fight them is to not let them have only one angle, right?
See.
And much like against Brellas, right? You have the option, like you do against Tent, to use Mist to limit their ability to swap sides of their shield, right? To make it more possible for you to fight them even if you're on your own.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's something you can do as easily against Gal. I don't fully know if it works, but I think in my head, in principle at least, right? Mist is one of those things that can kind of limit their ability to abuse a two-sided shield, because you prevent them from crossing over when you cross, right?
Yeah.
So something to think about. I don't really know if it'll come up. Anyway, I haven't seen this footage, so I'm just kind of curious. Because I remember this set also being a little bit harder than I thought it should be. What we have against this team is range. Like, absolute range. So we do want to take space because we don't want them to just be able to walk forward with Wall and Booyah. But you can always space and trust that you aren't really in a ton of danger, right?
Yeah.
It's like, here, don't... yeah. Do that. Oh wait, we did watch these games, didn't we? Yeah, because you're like
I,
allergic to crabbing from Hat.
but yeah, I remember this.
Yeah.
That was
Okay.
because we were like looking at something else though.
Yeah.
Looking at like mostly crabs, I think of it.
Yeah, maybe. So let's just see what we see. I guess okay. Let's just back it up a bit. So, crab. It wasn't a great crab, but we already talked about that. Chumps go out. Okay. So I would say this I consider to some extent neutral. Because we got our half back. We still have some special, so it's not like we're going to get totally mobbed by an avalanche on their end, right? We're all alive, but we still have to fight for mid, right? So to me, this kind of is a neutral, right?
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that. Yeah.
So returning to your flowchart, in your head, like what is your first slash best option in neutral? What's your favorite option?
I love being able to just randomly kill somebody from like front.
Okay, but I mean in terms of like a plan, a way you plan to get a kill.
But like, if there's like pain, which there is, I could probably like find some enemy within my combo range to just straight dome them.
Right. Okay. But that would be from front, right?
That would have to be from front because like left is a little weird, a little bit sketchy.
Because there's no paint, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd
Okay.
have to paint for myself here.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, another neutral option that I don't hate is when you go to an off angle and start trying to find some way to get in. Because going from the front, you run into the angle that the strongest resistance to you approaching and trying to fight is from the front. So it's better if you can like move slightly to the side so they're not just directly shooting at you, and then try and kill them, right?
Yeah, that also
Or
works.
like
Yeah.
you're more likely to get into combo range if you're at an off angle, in my mind. Um, I don't actually know though. What do you? Okay, maybe we should work on your like actual flowchart today. So pull up a document. Make one of these. Just gonna copy his. If you want to do a shortcut for toggles, you just why can I not delete this? Oh, because this is. You can do that. You can just do caret, right arrow, or greater than sign, and hit space, and that'll create a toggle. Okay. Um,
I'm currently not at my laptop, so
oh, I see. Okay. Um, well, maybe we'll talk about it in abstract. Um, I do want to. Okay, I'm gonna recap this because this was like a more organized version of what I did with you, but just to remind you of everything, right? So like, um, my problem with Evie, right, was him like having individual plans for every individual situation. The overall goal is to make it so that like you can pull from a more organized set of concepts, right? So like lumping together gals and tents in terms of kind of how you're fighting them, for example, right? Or like top left of Mako being the same thing as top left of or snipe on ramen, that sort of thing. You know what I mean?
connecting similar situations together.
Situations, weapons, whatever. Just like making it a more organized toolkit that you can pull from in a wider range of situations. So that way, like this says, you can do the right thing 99% of the time, even if you've never seen the situation before, right? Because you know what it looks, what it's similar to, right? Or try and get close. And then the way to do that is to like have like somewhat organized flow chart of like what you want to do in different situations and like what are the checklist items that need to be satisfied for you to do the different things you want, right? And then to have like a kind of rank order list of everything you would want to try to do, right?
Yeah.
And then um, I made a comment. We talked about this, right? About like playing around what sword is uniquely good at, which is basically like, unlike most other mid lines except S Blast, it can fight both at crit range and long range, which makes it hard to ever try and rush, right?
It's a lot more mobile compared to
Yeah,
most other mid
it's the
lines,
most
but
mobile
you
mid
kind of
line
just
for sure. It's
yeah,
got a fast combo that's hard to react to if you hit the 70 first, right? Um,
yeah,
it has more range, and it has more range than all of them, right? So between the mobility and the range, you can kind of like just go for fights and kills a lot more easily, and chase kills, I should say, a lot more easily than the other weapons can. Because like if a slosher hits you for 70, that doesn't mean they can necessarily run forward to hit the second slosh. Because every time they shoot, right, they get that like big, like slowdown for like a half second, right? So you can chase people more with the mobility, and you have the damage and the range and everything. And we did this thing where we were like comparing to S-Bass and Slosher, right? We did it actually more in an even better way than we did with him, because we like showed footage and like talked about it. And then something I don't know if I talked about with you. I think I did, right? This idea that like the way you rank things on your flowchart should be connected to your weapon's advantages, right?
Yeah.
So like for me, a lot of the times bubble plays are high on the list. Not necessarily top of the list, because bubble is still a precious resource, but bubble plays are high on the list because I can generally get bubble faster than anyone can get anything else, right?
Yeah.
And so in your case, if your advantage is like the mobility and the kill time, then you should be abusing both your ability to like move around and chase kills and the ability to like kill people at range as much as possible, right?
Yeah.
Now, what makes it more complicated, and the reason I think we should really work on your flowchart, is that with Crab Stamper in particular, the other thing is that Crab itself, right? You actually get Crab pretty fast because you're a Stamper, right? That paints a good amount, right?
Yeah.
And Crab itself is like super strong and flexible, right? So because
Yeah.
you're playing Crab Stamper in particular, you don't necessarily have to rely on your main weapon as much as the other Stampers or the other midlines do. You have the best special on any midline with Crab Stamper, right?
Yeah.
Like strikes are good, Booyah's good, but Crab is Crab, right?
Yeah.
So because of that, I think your flowchart gets more complicated. Like for example, on hold, right? We were talking about how like Crab should actually be close to the top of your list on hold because it's so strong that even as great of a main weapon that Stamper is, Crab is like even more annoying on hold, right?
And like for that reason, it's like it should be like a high priority.
Yeah, it should be more important to like set up a good Crab than to go for like a shark or continual picks, unless the picks are so good that they're like more likely to lead to success than the Crab. Okay, something conceptually I want to introduce you to now. New concept time that is more abstract and doesn't come up directly in game as much, but I just want this idea to kind of be floating around in your head. Is that you can, how do I say this? There is a trade-off between how much benefit you get from a play if it goes right, right? How much downside there is if it doesn't work out, right? And how likely it is to succeed, right? Those
Yeah.
three things all interconnect, and when you're thinking about what play to make, not when you're in the game actually, of course, right? But like in terms of how you review plays or analyze plays or like adjust your flowchart, right? You should be thinking about don't just think about, oh, this only works 10% of the time, or like, oh, if this works, I win the game, or like, oh, if this doesn't work, I instantly lose the game, right? You need to keep track or
Of like all three of those concepts rather than just
yeah.
like vaguely one of them.
Yeah. So example, do you remember that the tower haggle game against Jared and Ripping,
Yeah, I remember.
right? And you remember how Jared YOLO sent it to try and go for our hat when they got to that checkpoint, right?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of play where even though the success rate is very low, or the likelihood you succeed is pretty low, right? The
The cost
downside,
isn't that damaging.
the cost isn't that damaging because if you die there, you still have the crab, mostly, right? Or in his case, if he was coolered, you just have the crab anyway, right?
Yeah.
And like you keep mid, so you still like have the general advantage state, right? So the cost isn't so bad. And more importantly, if you do get it off, it's like a billion times more likely that you actually get past that checkpoint and can get a really good push that basically wins the game, right?
Yeah.
Like the potential payoff is super high, the cost is pretty low. And so even though it's pretty unlikely to succeed because you're trying to run in against the carbon, right? That's worth it because of everything coming together, right?
I see.
And then this was also happening with what I was talking about with you, um, in terms of fighting that other team, the last team we fought, Kelp's team, right? Where it's like the chance in a different way, right? Where like if you play defensive and spacey on hold against that team, right? The
Yeah.
likelihood that you're fine is super high, right?
Yeah.
The potential downside is very low, right? Because like the chances that you actually lose if they try and run in, right, are very low. Or actually, sorry, the downside of waiting around in mid isn't super bad because they aren't gonna get anything where like, oh no, they got hammer and zip, and they can stand in their circle. Who cares, right? It's like the downside of waiting for them isn't super bad because they don't have any tools to punish you for waiting, right?
Right.
And the upside is like meh, right? It's just like we don't get more map. They can still get back in, but like we can probably still stop them, right? So like the upside is decent that like you can still stop them, right? And so even though the upside is kind of meh, right? Like we are giving them the chance to go. The risk that they'll really be able to do something when they go is not super high, and the chance that you mess it up is super low.
It's super low. Yeah.
So it's worth it anyway. In a completely like opposite way as Jared's play on tower control and haggle, right?
Yeah.
So that's just a general concept to keep in mind when you're like deciding how to play. Now, to me, what playstyle is, and the reason I hate when people use the word playstyle is because this is the only place where I think playstyle truly means something as opposed to being just like something people use to cover up bad decision making. Because when people say playstyle, they try and like use it in the context of like, they try to use it as a general framework for like how they should flowchart all the time. You know what I mean? Like they use it to kind of
Right.
oversimplify their flowchart. That's my general impression of how it works. You don't need to hear this, but I'm putting this in there because I'm recording right now and I'll be able to clip it later and like send people my playstyle rant when I say like playstyle is stupid. Um, but where playstyle is like a real thing is like if you have a high risk, high reward play with some decent downside and like a decent chance it happens, but the upside is super good. And then on the other hand, you have like a steady play that the upside is not super good, but the downside is also not too bad and it's more like reliable, right?
Right.
But it doesn't win you the game, right? Like choosing between those two things is not like there isn't an obvious choice. It's like a preference for like whether you like if the amount of gambling is worth the reward you get, then like I'm not going to fault you for going for the riskier play, right?
I see.
But so in that case, right, it really is like a stylistic preference about whether you prefer higher risk, higher reward plays, or if you
Prefer
prefer
to be on the safer side.
be like on the more steady side. Yeah. Um, yeah. Anyway, that's just like a general comment as you choose to build your flowchart, because I don't know what kind of player you are. I know what kind of player Blop is, right? I think you do too, right?
Yeah.
Like given the choice between a higher risk play that could have big gains and like a more steady play that doesn't immediately lose, Blop like 9 times out of 10 is gonna pick the more like steady play, right?
Yeah.
Um, what I need to work on with him is ensuring that he's only choosing to make the steady play when it really is as good as the more risky aggressive play. That he's not overusing that concept, right?
I see.
Because like, for example, on Rainmaker, he used to be like a little bit too biased towards like waiting around for the perfect push, where it's like, yeah, or you could run it in. We almost certainly get lead, and even though the push dies, like, it's worth it because I don't think we're gonna get another push this good, right? So I do think he overly chooses the stable play in situations where the high risk play actually the reward and the likelihood of the reward outweighs his stability. But anyway, just a general thought. But yeah, in your case, going back to this, right? You need to build your flowchart to abuse both crab and your main weapon, which makes it a more interesting puzzle. It also grants you the opportunity for some stylistic choices, right? Because you can choose. It will depend on the enemy comp and whatnot. But by and large, there will be a lot of situations, I think, where like Stamper and Crab are both so good that it's gonna be kind of up to you to be like which one you prefer or which one you want to be better at, right? Does that make
I
sense?
see.
So
Yeah.
that's something we need to think about.
But that kind of comes like after I kind of developed like a general flow.
Yeah, but I think it like adjusting the flowchart, like even now in neutral, I or like for example on that ship shape game, I can't really say whether it's better to farm crab and try and crab from behind them, or to try and fight with your main and get us all back in to jump in with you. I don't really know. I think already that's like an interesting choice. So I think it'll come up early and often, is what I'm saying. Because you get crab quickly, and then your main is also good.
Understand?
Yeah. But anyway, this was the first idea. Like, when you're making the flowchart, make sure you're abusing what your weapon's actually uniquely good at. The second part was, or the second key idea was like, when we talk about you having a plan, that plan should be attached to a very specific expectation of what will come out of that plan. So, for example, yesterday or 2 days ago or whatever, we were talking about like, in order to consider this crab successful, we would expect that like XYZ has happened by the time the crab is done. For example, we capped the zone or at least got our half back, right? So if we didn't get our half back, we know the crab failed, right?
If something went wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other idea was that I don't know as much if I talked about with you is like, I think I did though, right? Like, if the plan went wrong, there are two possibilities, right? Either like you pick the wrong like branch on your plan, or
Or that it was correct, but
you need more
thing
branches, like
about the
sub
way.
branches.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, what did you say?
Uh, that like the idea was correct, but like there was some factor that like I forgot about.
Yeah. So like you need to account for more things. Um, and then this third thing of just like finding patterns. And then like these being the three things I want to do. Um, so with all that out of the way, let's. Okay, I guess you don't have a flowchart, and you don't have a computer. Do you have your phone?
Yeah.
Oh, but I guess you're using it to watch me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you can't like watch and type at the same time. Okay, I'll just type. It's fine. I don't like typing because then you aren't like thinking about it as much. Um,
I mean, I can kind of have like your stream one half of the screen.
no, it's fine. I'll just do it. Okay. Um, where is you? You is here. I think. Oh no, we are still playing. Oh, what a fool I am. Oh, these were the actual games. Oh wait, I want this. Yeah, I want the FT1 footage. Here we go. Okay. Was this the first game? Yeah, has to be. Okay. Anyway. Yeah, one sec. Okay. All right. So, in neutral, what are your general plans?
Uh,
Don't have to order them for now.
I guess I like to like gun it directly for front or like some aggressive position immediately and like try to dome somebody.
Right.
Yeah, that seems good. Uh, Sometimes I also like to just straight farm crab
Okay.
and just like not really do much with the main weapon.
Right.
Uh, would popping crab be like the same thing as farming it?
No, totally different. But like, what kinds of crabs? Where do you want to use them? And for what purpose?
I think I generally want to use the crab, like, I guess not necessarily like a forward position, but like a position where I can like hit enemies from like almost around like my maximum range.
Right. Is your goal damage and clearing, or are you doing it for a pick?
It could kind of go either way.
Okay. So then how do you
Um,
know whether the crab worked?
I think it would have to come down to whether or not I am able to like fully clear enemies from front, where they have to play from a different angle, where it means like going from like a side angle or
Right, right, right. Okay.
coming from under.
Crab to meaningfully claim a. So, this is the term I like to use, where it's like, on most maps, there are. Actually, okay. I don't know if you guys have this concept super precisely on like every map, but give me a random map.
Um, Goal. Yes.
Haggle? Okay. So to me on Haggle, the there are several checkpoints of map control, right? So you actually only have there's like this. That's one, right? Or I
Yeah.
guess more like this. There's this. Oh, hold on, let me use a different color. Uh, Bad. Dire straits. And then there's like orange, and that's like you at least have like this whole area, right? And then there's like, to me, the next real big checkpoint I consider to be stable is like maybe like not even that. It's like this. Well, or like more like this, right? Um, and then roughly
Okay.
speaking, like then there's having like this kind of where it's like you actually have the zone and can like cross onto their side, but you can't. Like this is kind of like iffy area, right?
But yeah.
Then there's like you actually have mid, right? And then there's the reverse of like you actually have their spawn, right?
Yeah.
Like this is, yeah, right. So to me, these are like different like spiritual checkpoints on the map for how much control you have. And I think, for example, one place that miscommunication can happen, I'm not sure it happens too often for us, but I do think it comes up sometimes, is when we don't agree on what checkpoint we're actually at. Right? I hope other people watch this VOD because this is just like a more general. This is an example of like a general concept that I think is important that I've never talked about that I just kind of assumed we all had. That it's like we need to make sure that we are in agreement on which checkpoint we actually have because we are fighting essentially to defend and try and break past that checkpoint and not something else. Right? It gets a little hazier
Right.
with like flanks and stuff because then you end up with like weird special area over here where Stan decided to come and like pop crab or something, and like maybe I put like a bubble here and then like everything's complicated. But
And then like
general,
control's like a little different that way.
yeah. But generally speaking, like there are these map checkpoints, and then there's like a question of like there's also a question of like when we use X number of specials, right? How
Hmm.
much how many of these checkpoints do we have to claim in order for it to be worth it?
Worth using the.
Yeah, worth using the resources. And there's also the question of like when we do use the specials, I guess yeah, because we have to be aligned on like how much we're gonna try and claim when we use the specials, right? Um, and there's
Yeah.
also like the question of um, how many specials we think we need to. Slightly related question, like how many specials do we think we need to claim or use to claim this checkpoint, right? And there's also the question of like, do we even need to claim this checkpoint? Can we claim this checkpoint, right? With this many specials. Because like if you're crabbing because you think we should be able to take this, and like Blop doesn't think we can take this, he's just not gonna go with your crab, right? Um,
Right.
Now in some sense you can kind of force it by like just if you kill two or one, he might like be like, okay, cool, I can walk forward. So you have to like kind of prove that you've actually accomplished what should be possible, as opposed to just like, oh, we pop crabs, so we should be able to take this. That's always the case, right? That's what Blop and I mean by like use your eyes. It's like just because we think generally speaking, crab plus bubble should be enough to do X Y Z, doesn't mean that you actually correctly used crab and bubble, right, well enough to cause that to happen, right?
There's like a theoretical, and then there's like a what actually happened.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I've always assumed that we kind of have a shared concept of both that we know what all these checkpoints are, and um, that we kind of agree on what we have at any given time. And in particular, I think something that as I've gotten better, I've sort of learned to conceptualize and think about carefully that I don't necessarily know is as universal um, among the whole team is like as we retake against better and better players, we have to be more precise about our use of all these checkpoints and the resources we use to claim them. Right? So when we were worse, right? Mentally, I feel like we took this checkpoint and this checkpoint out. Like we don't really consider these checkpoints. And so on one hand, you have people kind of like running forward on plat because they just kind of assume plat should always be safe, right? Or spawn.
Yeah.
And there was also this issue where it's like people won't do anything at all unless we have enough resources to jump directly from here to capping the zone, right? And what you learn when you watch top level Japan or even just playing against better players than us, they're better at utilizing, especially like, there's always this kind of in between checkpoint on every map. And the good players are better at understanding where exactly the line of that like in between checkpoint is, where it's like you're not spawn locked, but you can't take zone yet. Right?
Right.
They're better at knowing when they can claim that, how much they need to claim that, and then continuing to fight from there instead of trying to directly jump from here to here. Because the problem with trying to directly jump from here to here is that it's much more telegraphed and punishable. Like if they know we're going to crab and bubble and chump to get directly to here, then if any of them goes wrong and we try and claim zone directly, right, they can disrupt any of those and then punish us completely for using all of them.
There's we could actually lose control rather than gain control of a certain checkpoint.
Not not necessarily like they'll leave us in our spawn probably. Actually, yeah, they might rush our spawn, but
Well, it depends on like how good the players are,
yeah.
right?
But like if they destroy the crab and I bubbled to claim the zone, now my bubble also doesn't work. Right? So now we've burned both specials and we didn't get the zone and we're still fully stuck in our spawn. It's like as I've gotten better, one thing I've learned to do is like if I get bubble super early or like the timing is tricky, then maybe I should pop bubble like here, right? Like somewhere around here or here, where it's like I will never paint the zone, but I can at least paint like enough that you guys can maybe drop and we can start getting a bit closer to fighting zone, right?
Yeah.
So that's like a concept I've tried to work on. Now, in your case, if Blop is listening to this, that is super duper ultra relevant for chumps. That is almost the exclusive use case of chumps, is to get us incremental games from one checkpoint to the next. So rather than trying to jump directly to the zone, right, it's better to use them as you get them to just try and get to here, or whatever the equivalent is on the other map we're playing. Like Umami, for example, there's this area that like I think that checkpoint on Umami is like being here versus being, I think, kind of like here, sort of, right? But like you can
Yeah, it's kind
actually,
of like roughly.
yeah, like you still have to respect top mid, but we are like on this side and able to stand like maybe more like this, right? Like we don't have true mid, but we are able to kind of exist in mid beyond like just our like true spawn, so to speak. And chumps, the way he can get them rapidly can help us claim these in between areas faster, which is useful because it makes my distance to get with bubble and it makes the distance I have to go with bubble shorter and the timing with which I can use it harder to predict. And the location, right? Now, in your
Yeah.
case, because of crab being crab, I don't think there's almost any map where it is worth it for you on retake to only claim the in-between checkpoint. Like, if you pop crab on Umami and all we get is our semi-half of mid, but we can't paint the zone, right? Like, I would not consider that a successful crab like 90% of the time. Does that make sense? Do you agree with that or no?
I think I agree with that.
And specifically, what I would say is I would rather you crab later to ensure the cap of the actual zone than burn your crab early just to get us the like check the in between checkpoint.
Yeah.
Because you have one of the most flexible tools for fully ensuring the cap, because you can both paint and kill from a safe distance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'd rather have you shooting at the zone and at people than have you pop your crab and then blop chump the zone. Like, we can make it work. Like, it might get to it. We might get into a situation where, like, you pop a crab that you think can get us all the way, and then they use something in response that, like, either denies half your crab or, like, otherwise slows us down. Like, them putting a bubble down, for example, which I do to crabs, where it's like, then it's okay that we didn't get all the way because, like, they also had to use something, right?
They have to use something to kind of like stop.
Yeah. So we can kind of wait it out and then go after. Then it's okay. And then block can, like, pop chumps. But that's different because then, like, the chumps have a better chance of succeeding, right? So I don't want to say that you should always wait. I'm just saying you have a tool. I guess what I would say is, like, you have a tool that left unchecked can often claim 2 checkpoints directly rather than just one. So going back to the Mako or the haggle example that I sadly got rid of, right? Like if we're fighting for mid from like here at the beginning of the game, right? I don't want you to crab just to get the cap. I want you to crab to get mid,
Right.
right? Which I think you agree with.
Yeah.
But I want to kind of put that into words. Um, if they don't use any resources, a good crab should be able to directly claim 2 map checkpoints, not just 1. Right?
I see.
Um, farm crab. Right. I don't know what the condition. Okay. I think the other one we talked about. Um,
I mean, I know we're not like specifically ranking right now, but
yeah, yeah.
farm crab would kind of be more like the lower priority because I already kind of like passively get it as I'm like already doing other things.
Right. But there must be situations where it's better to farm crab than to do anything else. I just don't know what those are.
Right, right.
Like when do you think it's generally
I think like if there's a situation where it really feels like I can't go forward or I can't like safely. Well, I guess not safely is not really for it. Like roughly be able to shoot at people without getting like straight nuked, then I probably just have to farm crab and like just rip it on the way in.
okay? Um, and then this is another option, right?
Yeah.
Do you ever do this
What?
off angle distraction during neutral?
I actually don't think I've like ever actively done it. I think I might have passively done it, but actively, I don't know.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna put this in
So
here as like a unexplored territory, perhaps worth considering. But I'll leave it at the bottom because this is like me with like going specifically for bomb combos off you guys on hold. Okay, so let's be more specific here, right? So you say you like to claim forward positions and go for fast combo kills. Actually, wait, no. Before that, this one, because since we were already talking about it, what are those situations where you think you'll get nuked? Like, what are the weapons? What are the maps? What are the like teammate comp? Because you should consider so. This should be like more flexible than just us. It should consider solo as well. Um, but like, what are the situations where you you're like, okay, I can't go forward. I'm just gonna farm. Be specific. Because this is where your
um
flowchart is gonna slowly get adjusted over time.
I guess can start with like a random map. Hmm. I guess mincemeat.
What?
Maybe the enemy comp is like Enso or leader with like second stamper on the enemy team or like blessed. Where if like I try to go for anything, I'll just get insta sniped or directed.
Wait, what was the second option
Like
other than Stamper?
uh splash.
Oh, right.
Let's say I'm like trying to retake, I guess.
Well, this is in neutral specifically.
Oh wait, yeah, this is actually neutral, never mind.
So you think you can run it down in this situation?
I feel like it'd have to depend on where the S class is standing or the stamper is standing.
Okay. So, what to you about mincemeat makes it so that you think this is necessary? Like, you can't go forward.
I guess like if the leader slash pencil is like the common spot, like their snipe,
Yep.
and like if I try to go forward at all, like I'll get like two tapped or sniped or like splashed or another striking weapon is just sitting around the right side, and if I try to drop, I just get like killed instantly.
Right. So, why is that? It happens on mincemeat, but what about mincemeat makes it so that you can't go? Do you know what the property is, what the pattern is?
Where you can go is limited to just only a few spots where you can try to run through or like go for a kill.
You mean they're physically narrow?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So I'm gonna translate this because I know what you're talking about, and I'm gonna slightly translate this and expand it. Um, so you don't like cases where every route forward is a choke point, i.e., highly predictable way in and out slash no way out.
Yeah,
Right.
that sounds right.
So the problem with mincemeat is that the two ones through mid are super narrow, so it's very easy to hit the shot because like it's easy to cover the choke, right? And then on the
Yeah.
right side, if you, it's easy to catch you while you're dropping, right?
Right.
But even more so than that, um, it's that once you go forward, you have the same problem backing out. So it's not so bad in my mind, right? that um you have to there's a choke point on the way in, right? Because you can find a timing where they're like not looking and sneak forward, right?
Yeah.
To me, like even if there's an S blast or a roll or whatever, like you can go when they're like distracted shooting at someone else. To me, the problem
Yeah,
is
that's what I was thinking.
if you don't get the kill and everything is a choke point or a committal location, like bottom right, the problem is if you somehow mess it up, you are screwed. Because now they are definitely looking at you because you tried to shoot them, right?
Yeah,
And to get out, you have to walk through an area that's super easy to punish you.
essentially, yeah. What's the point of being mobile if it's too predictable to know
Yeah,
where I'm going?
yeah. Why? Because if you somehow mess it up, you're screwed. Yeah. Um, what else? What are other situations or maps where it's difficult? So that's why Haggle similarly is like uncomfortable to push through mid because it's a choke and again like hard to escape.
Right.
Which to me, by the way, is partially why sometimes I see you go first top mid on Haggle and I'm like, what are you doing? Right? Like, if you're gonna go for that, you better land your kill because you usually die if you don't. I don't know if you've noticed.
Yeah.
Um, okay, I think these kind of go in here actually. So, don't. Don't do this. Right. Up, you're easy to punish. Okay, so I can get rid of that here. Um, I think we can. Oh, that's not what I want. I think we can agree to just move this down here. Right.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so then what are other situations where you can't do it? I'll just give it to you. Also, don't do this when no cover against hunger range weapons. E.g., very easy to get popped on barnacle zones. I don't know if you remember your
Oh yeah.
long-standing history of standing in
Long
front
standing history, yeah.
on bottom left and getting shot in the head by leaders in pencils and instantly losing his mid. But that is another known situation where you can't, or you have to be more thoughtful about how you move forward. So, for example, on Barnacle, I think you can move forward because there is some cover, right? Like, I think you could try to go up into mid and hit people, right? But,
Yeah.
um,
I feel like against AoE weapons especially, it's gonna be really hard to take shots around cover when they can just shoot around the cover and like take damage,
right.
like die.
Yep.
I mean, I could get damaged by an AoE weapon and then
Yeah.
like get popped by afterward,
Yeah.
leaving.
But I think my premise is does not mean it's impossible. Just have to find timings to use the cover. And it must save to do so. See below. So like in theory, right, you could wait to see that the roller is trying to push bottom right and wait for the pencil to shoot 5 slots and then run into mid to try and hit them in the head. The pencil.
Yeah,
Right?
that
Like
makes sense to me.
you can still go for it. You just have to complete your checklist, right? Right. Um, um, and then what else do we have? Oh, right. Need to know where all the sharking weapons are. Avoid getting jumped. Yes. So we
Yeah.
don't run it down against a leader if we haven't seen the brush, or worse, know the brush is there. Yes? Like what you did on Mahi on right side, don't do that. That also doesn't work, right? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on, let me just
And then obviously you could change in the future by like find something new, or if actually this doesn't work as well as I think it might.
yeah. Okay. When do you need to do it from an off angle? Is there any other than this, is there any other special case where you prefer the side even though like the front is mostly okay?
Where like you can still like come from the front.
Like, yeah, is there any situation where you could come from the front, but you would rather come from the side anyway? A genuine question.
Perhaps if like all the weapons are like shorter range than me for the enemy comp.
Hmm. Okay. Why?
Uh, because from the front, like they outrange them. I can still like for the option to go front. I just have to like space it a little bit.
Right.
But I could go from the side. Wait, what?
I'm listening. Hello?
Oh, wait. Sorry.
What?
Um, I was saying something and then my mic died.
Oh. LOL. Um, I would, okay. I don't know that I agree with you. I think if the weapons are shorter ranged, you should generally prefer the front. Because of that.
Yeah.
Right. Because, like, that was exactly what was happening to you against that one team. Like, you play your off angle, and then it doesn't matter because there's three of them all running at you at the same time. And you're by yourself. Right?
Yeah.
I would say off angle preferred if you're preemptively expecting them to try to run away defensively and pincering as possible, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's like if you know Blop is generally going to push them backwards or whatever, right?
That's kind of like the thing about going front versus like taking an off angle, because if I go in an off angle, like we lose like a stamper just being on the front and just directly like
Yeah.
throwing shots in the front.
Off angle is risky if it if teammate weapons don't have the strength to hold the front.
I guess as like a general thing, it could be like the most range in my team's
Yeah.
comp.
Yeah. Okay. Another sub criteria. If you go for the combo and it doesn't work, when do you leave and when do you stay?
Hold on, BRB.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back.
What the fuck? Okay, that was fast.
My
Yeah.
mom came to check on me.
No, I see. Yeah. If you miss, what are you doing? Like, what are the rules for when you can stay versus when you have to back up?
If I miss and I immediately notice that I'm about to get shot at, seem like pops out from their ink and like starts to get ready to shoot. It could be like multiple people would intensify that even more that I should leave rather than continue to go for more shots. if the enemy that I'm targeting doesn't directly react to me missing and there's no one else around them
Yeah.
yet, and try to go for another combo. Or if I already hit like a shot, I can go for like the finisher, I guess.
Yeah. But here the bias is towards living, right?
Yeah. Because if I die, like that's already like dying at like the beginning of the game.
Like even if you could trade,
Like,
you'd
losing
rather stay
control.
alive, right?
Yeah.
Okay. There's your general flowchart for this play. Right. I think.
There's a lot of like feels like
Yeah. Where did it go? Oh, I guess it's like, hello. Okay, cool. So it's either you're poking for a kill, or you're trying to claim a map checkpoint with Crab, right?
yeah, for the most part.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Um. Hmm. It's really the only two things you can do. Are there ever any situations where you think it's worth it to intentionally try to look for and play off teammates?
Yeah.
Okay, how would you describe that one or that scenario?
A team might be like committed to a certain fight before I do, or they might get rushed before I get to do anything.
Right,
Like before I commit to anything, something ends up happening, like nearby.
right,
It's like a general thing.
right. But I don't think that's really like planned for.
Yeah, it's more like of an if.
It's like a reactionary thing. The way I think,
Yeah.
do you ever think it's worth it to shark in neutral instead of farming crab, for example?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, when do you think it's better to? What are you sharking for? Or shark? Or what?
Perhaps go for a a kill that seems easy enough to get.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
This is where like playstyle preferences come in though. Right. When would you rather fish for a kill instead of getting a crab?
Uh, I think I'd probably do it if I'm like very far from my crab. Because then I'd probably have to spend a lot of time like throwing flashes just to build it up.
Right. And then,
Um,
what kind of weapons are you trying to pick off? Where do you generally like sitting? How do you like to use slow swimming?
I think generally I want to go for support like weapons or long range weapons. Uh,
Any positions or map design properties or what about people with
I
like good
guess.
specials?
Huh?
What about people with good specials? I
That could
guess
kind of go in line with
I guess yeah.
uh
Yeah, is there
I
anything
guess
else?
maybe could like shark around a teammates that's like more vulnerable to getting like
Yeah.
rushed in the same way that I might want to use my first option where I like to try to immediately dome somebody.
So like me.
Yeah, even though I don't really do it.
That but like that gives you a new real option, right?
Yeah.
If I'm in a more frontal position on neutral, like I can tell you right now, if Blop dies in a neutral situation on like Barnacle, people love trying to rush our snipe and like go for me. You could totally catch them trying to come, or like top mid on Umami. People love trying to come top mid to fight me. Right.
That could be plausible to getting like a multi-kill.
So like you should think about that, right?
Yeah.
Do you like this better or worse than just like ripping crab to take space?
Honestly, I kind of like it over needing to use crab.
Okay. What's your preferred range for surprise kills?
Definitely like the edge of my horizontal range,
Right.
like max horizontal range.
Right.
'Cause that way it's like perfect for like a combo kill.
Well, you're already not following this, but you can keep this in mind. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. The next most interesting case. And then here, I mean, yeah, this is unexplored territory. This is honestly decently unexplored territory. Hmm. If you're crabbing, Stan, what do you need to worry about?
What specials do the enemy have right now? Rezip, Zuka,
Hold on.
Mer, another correct, yeah. Booyah, bubbles were there too. Strikes is less so. Strikes can be there.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that. Uh, yeah, I was just about to say Charger.
Yeah.
Especially be careful if it's like equal elevation. Generally, I'm not gonna try to crab when I'm on low ground,
Uh
but if
huh.
it does happen, I'll have to be very careful.
Okay. Here's your little checklist, right? Now you can learn to follow this checklist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good enough for me. If you can even just do these things. Okay, let's look for fun at some opening neutrals and see how often you follow these rules of what the order should be and also fully following or meeting your checklist. Let me do the. Didn't Evie record games for you? Where are the games Evie recorded? And then that's the last thing we'll do. Hold, we'll have to wait. Oh, here we go. Stand games. Yeah. Okay, here we go. This will be fun. Alright. Opening neutral. Okay. What kind of map is this?
This
Can you do your first option?
seems like it'd be very hard to do my first option.
Because.
A lot of this ground is like pretty narrow, and there's like cover around that the SOS can shoot around,
Yeah,
or the
there's
Dread can use.
not a lot of cover that you can actually use. Okay. Could you have sharked?
Yeah, I could, but I'd
Yeah.
have to like paint around first
Yeah, you can pin
before
her
I
up
actually
first, but
get
I
the charge.
do agree that like I think this is in the type of map where you can instead of trying to play so aggressive on the start, you can actually shark. Right. Okay. Well, here's helping teammate. Oh, sad. Oh, you didn't get what you wanted. That's for sure. Oh, this is neutral, I'd say. Okay. Not super high ground. And I would say this crab was unsuccessful in getting us into any new checkpoint at all.
Yeah, it didn't really do anything.
Yeah. So why was that?
Um, I guess it kind of looks like targets, but I didn't know who exactly I wanted to prioritize. I think crab would be very useful if everyone on my team was alive, rather than like person on my team is dead.
I see.
But 'cause that's less people to go with the crab.
Yeah. I also think you just have a general issue of need to be able to fully threaten the area. The checkpoint to be claimed aside from potentially corners where they will easily get stuck. Right?
See,
So you don't have enough range here to force them. Like if they got stuck down in the bottom left, it's fine. You can't hit down there, right? The problem is they can
yeah,
stand all along this backside, so they don't get stuck. And like you said, you don't have teammates to just swim through and crossfire it. So this does nothing. Mm. This is still neutral, right? Yeah, okay.
this is neutral.
So this doesn't seem to follow the criteria of not continuing to go if they have teammates that can turn to shoot at you, right?
Yeah,
Just to be clear, I also don't fully follow my flowchart. A big part of getting better is just getting to the point where you actually follow your own flowchart that you know is correct. Um,
I think in this situation, in my mind, I was like, okay, I hit the bow twice already, but they have to be like one hit or like extremely low enough.
yeah, they are, but as you have said, rightly said, that doesn't matter if you can just get shot from the side, right?
It doesn't matter if I can get shot though.
Yeah. Okay, this is no longer neutral, so that's not neutral either. That's in their spawn. Okay. Like kinda. No, this is still. Yeah, no, that doesn't count. Did we just win? No, of course not. How could we? Okay, this is neutral.
Yeah,
So you should be looking for kills here. You're going, but you're not fighting from the appropriate range. And you died.
yeah,
Surprise. So I think you could go. So here you can't because of bow. Then bow dies, and the moment the bow dies, right? So if the bow's not dead, I don't think you should be going. Because this
yeah,
satisfies this is the case of backline that outranges me is forcing me into cover, but there's an AoE that can stop me from standing in the cover.
yeah.
So really, you just shouldn't go at all. Like you should stay in mid, by the mid block. And then the moment the bow dies, you should be fighting from your max range horizontal range instead of your
Sort of like almost crit range.
yeah. Oops. Uh, Fight from max horizontal range, not crit range. So yeah. This is to say you're not following your own flowchart, but I generally agree with the flowchart we have created. Cool. Bob actually killed that guy. Awesome. This is not hold or retake. Is the game just over? Well, that's embarrassing. Okay. Well, on that note, I think we can stop here for the night.
Oh shit, it's 3:30.
Yeah, it's late for both of us. But, yeah. There you go. I'm gonna end the stream.